Lesson 10. There are as many ideas of time as there are people. Research tells us that children under the age of 2 have little sense of the passage of time. It may have been the same for our early ancestors. Some scholars believe that people once lived in an endless present with hardly any sense of past or future. The way science views time has also changed. Throughout most of history, it was looked upon as having a flow like a river. Even for Newton, time was absolute. But with Einstein, everything became relative, and time was seen as a dimension, like length and width and height. Einstein showed that our perception of time is peculiar to our planet, and that the sense of time is unique to any one spot in the universe. Measuring time is one of the oldest human activities. It began among the great civilizations that developed 5,000 years ago along the life-giving rivers in the Middle East. The Babylonians developed a year of 360 days, then divided it into 12 months of 30 days each. The true cycle of the sun is a little over 365 days, and of the moon a little over 29. Babylonian priests were aware of this, but insisted that the number 360 had magical qualities. The more practical Egyptians lengthened the year to 365 days, putting aside the extra days for a festival. Have we now become slaves to the clock? David Landis, a historian of time at Harvard University, says, "The clock freed individuals by letting them know what time belonged to their employers and what time was their own. Without the clock, and later the watch, there would be no modern world. These have made the difference between a highly organized society and one in which people had only an unclear idea of time's possibilities. The world system for keeping time is accurate to within a 1/1,000,000th of a second. It records the Earth's rate of movement, which determines our day. This is not as regular as people think. Patterns in ice, tides, weather, ocean currents all affect the Earth's speed of movement. The result is that this time is slowing, though only at a rate of a few 1,000ths of a second per century. With clocks having become so accurate, do we now know what time is? David Allen of the National Institute of Standards and Technology believes that clocks are very limited devices. The past, he says, does not exist except in our memory, nor the future except in our expectations. The most a clock gives us is the time an instant ago, not even the time now. Today, when we glance at the clock and rush out the door, we are living as if time were a straight line. But there are still peoples in the world who have a more complex feeling about it. For them, everything goes on at once. Talking, eating, reading. Nobody looks at the clock. Schedules are flexible. And nobody minds. Almost everybody have lived that way once, since time was usually viewed as a circle in which everything returned to a previous state. Students of the human mind say we are aware only of a short period of time, 6 to 12 seconds long. It has to be longer than an instant to allow us to make the connections between separate words or notes of music that change them into experiences with meaning. Tests show that animals lack the ability to make time-separated connections. So do some people. In northern Arizona, an old Hopi woman talks of a close friend, dead for years, as if he had just stepped out the door. Hopi verbs make no difference between past and present. For them, all time runs together, like an ever-continuing present.